Hello students, welcome back to the mobile computing subject lecture 2. Already in the class 1 we discussed some part of unit number 1, that is lecture 1. Okay, here is the lecture number 2. Just we recall what we have to be discussed in the past session. So in the session 1 we discussed about mobile communication introduction and mobile computing introduction and mobile computing architecture and novel applications and limitations. So just we have to be recall what we discussed in the past session. So these are the topics what we have to be discussed in the last session: mobile communication and mobile computing paradigms, and different novel applications, limitations and drawbacks of mobile computing. So there in the mobile communication we already discussed. So data is transmitted in the way of signals. Those signals are transmitted by using guided and unguided transmission mediums. So signal propagations, antennas by using modulations. So, coming to the mobile computing, we discussed the introduction part of mobile computing. These are the communication device connected with any one of these characteristics, and mobile computing architecture. We mainly discussed about the mobile computing architecture. It required programming languages. It required operating system, and it required middleware, and why the middleware is there. So to identify the nearby devices for the hotspot and Bluetooth for that purpose, architecture, and some of the protocols we discussed in the past session, and layers, and some of the novel applications like vehicles, emergencies, business, replacement of wide network, entertainment, location dependency services, and there are also some drawbacks we discussed for the mobile communications. That is, it drains battery very quick, and there's a problem in security. There's a problem in network issues, and they're very portable in size. That's why the keypads are very smaller. It's a bit difficult for typing, and using high resolution for the screen display, so it affects the eyes. So these are the topics what we have to be discussed in the last session. Okay, now in this lecture 2, so these are the topics we have to cover. A simplified reference model, to the layers of the simplified reference model, and GSM services, and GSM architecture. So these four topics we discussed in this session. So is the simplified reference model for the mobile computing or for the wireless devices. Okay, the already we discussed it. So data, either voice data or textual data, is transmitted from one device to the another device in the way of signal propagation or in the way of waves. So how the data is transmitted, that we discussed in the mobile communication. There are two ways of transmitting the data. One is guided transmission, and the second one is unguided transmission. Just you observe this diagram. Okay, this one is the wireless device, and this is the wired device, fixed host. This one is the wireless host, and this one is the fixed host. So these are the layers there for the wireless device. These are the layers there in the wired device for transmitting data from one device to the another device. These are the standardized networks. Okay, is the radio frequency. By using radio frequency, data can be transmitted, and by using a medium like what we have to be discussed in the guided transmission medium, by using optical fibers or by using coaxial cables or by using twisted pair cables. So any one of the cable is using here to transmitting of data. Okay, what are the different layers we are using for transmitting these signals from one location to the another location, or from one device to the another device. So I think you guys all know about some of these layers. These are not all the new layers. These are the you studied there in the network OSI reference model. So these are the some of the layers: physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, and application layer. So these are the layers which we have to be using for the mobile communication system to transmitting data. The data may be either voice data or textual data or multimedia data, whatever it may be. The data has to be transmitted from one device to the another device by using these network standardization. Okay, let's move to the first layer, that is physical layer. I think you guys all know about the physical layer. So, which is using for the purpose of physical communication. So, the communication may be either wide or wireless, whatever it may be. So, the communication will be established to the device by using this physical layer. So, the main role of this physical layer is has to be accessed the raw bits. So, which came from one device to the another device. So, this is the lowest layer in a communication system and is responsible to convert the stream of bits into signals that can be transmitted on the sender side. Okay, the physical layer of the receiver then transforms the signals back into a bit stream. So, for wireless communication, the physical layer is responsible for frequency selection. We already discussed it. For wired communication, so there is a path is established between sender and receiver, or client and server, or source and destination. But coming to the wireless, there is a no fixed path. The fixed path is not available. So here it has to be access frequency selection. So the responsibility of physical layer in the wireless is frequency selection and the generation of the carrier frequency, signal detection, modulation of data onto a carrier frequency, and encryption. The second one is the data link layer. So the main task of this layer is to access the medium from a multiplexing of different data streams, correction of transmission errors and synchronization, nothing but that is a detection of a data frame. Therefore, the data link layer is responsible for a reliable point-to-point connection between two devices, or a point-to-point multi-point connection between one sender and several receivers. So this is the important point here. The connection between one sender and several receivers is the main task of this layer is to access the medium. So if it accesses the medium, then the connection establishment is done, then the data transformation is started. So to access the medium is the important role here. That's why this is the work done by the data link layer. Now, network layer. So this is the third layer. The main responsibility of this layer is establishing the path and establishing the connection between the sender and receiver, and establishing the path between the client and server, and establishing the path between the user 1 and user 2. So whatever it may be, so it has to be establish a path. In which way it has to be established path? It has to be establishing a connection, either wired connection or wireless connection, whatever it may be. So it has to be identify the destination in shortest path. So this is the third layer is responsible for routing packet through a network or establishing a connection between two entities over many other intermediate systems. The important function are addressing to identify the destination address. I think you all studied there. So a packet consisting of source address, destination address. So whenever it reaching to the one router, so there it identifies the destination address and it will be transmitted. So there is no problem in wired communication. It is the wireless communication. So there is a possibility of data loss. But the main key role of this network layer is it has to be identify the address of destination, or it has to be identify the address of receiver. So and it has to route. So routing has to be done by the network layer. So to not only identify the destination address, and it has to be identify the destination address, it has to be establish the connection, it has to establish the connection in shortest path, and it has to be identify the device location and as well as handover between different networks. So there is a slight difference. There is a slight difference between the network layer. There is no difference. We discuss here. There is no problem in using systems by connecting to the network. But coming to the here the mobile devices, the mobile devices are the movable devices. So in one certain time, the device is in one location. So after some time, it moved to the some other location. So it's a very difficult task for the network layer. So to identify the address of that particular device. So the device is movable. So for example, the device is there in Guntur at the time of 11. So after the 11:15, it reaches to Mangalagiri. So it has to be identify the mobile address and device location. So that is the main role of the networking layer. Next, coming to the transport layer. So you guys know this layer is used in the reference model to establish an end-to-end connection. So which is using for the purpose of end-to-end connection. And the final layer, application layer. Finally, the applications are situated on top of all transaction-oriented layers. So the functions are to service location, support for multimedia applications, adaptive applications that can handle the large variations of transmission characteristics and wireless access to the World Wide Web using a portable devices. So these web applications are many of applications and location tracing and support of multimedia applications, adaptive applications. So all this work will be done by the application layer. So these are the layers you have to be using in the simple mobile computing reference model. In the mobile communication simple reference model consisting of data has to be transmitted from one device to the another device. Either the device may be fixed device or the device may be movable device. These layers are the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, and application layer. So that's why I am discussing in the first class. If you guys are good in network, you can easily identify. So what happened there in mobile computing? Now the next one is GSM, Global System for Mobile Communication. So what is meant by GSM? So we feel it as a GSM is the standardization for the mobile communications. Why? Because let's see here, it is used by over 800 million people in more than 190 countries. It is used by over 800 million people in more than 190 countries. Why they are using why this much of countries are preferred GSM? So that we discussed in these services. Okay, what is meant by GSM? So GSM is the global system for mobile communication. It is the standardization for the mobile communication. I think we all know about the standardization for the network. So the standardization for the network is OSI reference model. So for example, you are connecting one printer to the laptop here in India. So you went for US, you carrying laptop there. If you connecting this laptop to the printer there in US, automatically it has to be function like in the same. So why? Because there is a network standardization is developed. Everyone has to be follow these OSI standardizations. Like that, here also, if you have to be carry one mobile from one location to the another location, for example, you buy one mobile there in UK, you came to India, so you want to use that particular mobile in India, is it working or not? Will be working. So someone saying, sir, we have to be unlock that particular phone, sir. So if SIM is not working, but it will be using, it will be useful for network connection like Wi-Fi. So that is the standardization, network standardization. Here also, if you have to be design a mobile, it has to be work in same manner in anywhere in the world. For that purpose, how the network standardization is done. Likewise, here also mobile communication standardization is done by using these GSM architecture. So GSM is the most successful digital mobile telecommunication system. So GSM is the most successful digital mobile telecommunication system in the world today. So right now we are using the mobiles or belongs to the GSM. Okay, it is used by over 800 million people, more than 190 countries. So why this much of countries and this much of people are preferred GSM rather than other telecommunication systems? Because yeah, these are the services provided by the GSM. Let's just look for this. Before going to the service, GSM permits the integration of different voice and data services and the integration with existing networks. So it doesn't require a new network. So it works depending on the already existing network. So a mobile station is connected to the GSM public land mobile network via the UM interface. So this network is connected to transit networks, for example, integrated service digital networks or traditional public switched telephone networks. All these are the examples for the these GSM system. So, what are the services provided by the system? So, these are the first service, barrier services. GSM specifies different mechanisms for data transmission. So, not only the single mechanism, it preferred so many mechanisms for the data transmission. The original GSM allowing for data rates up to 9600 bits for non-voice services. So, it allows up to 9600 bits for non-voice services. Here in the barrier service permit transparent and non-transparent or synchronous or asynchronous data transmission. So barrier service permits transparent and non-transparent, synchronous or asynchronous data transmission. So here in the transparent barrier service, only it uses functions of the physical layer. So the transparent barrier service only use the functions of the physical layer, but here in the non-transparent barrier service, it uses protocols of layer 2 and 3 to implement error correction and flow control. So transparent just only physical layer, so but the non-transparent uses the rest of layers. So these services use the transparent barrier services. So the only mechanism to increase transmission quality is the use of forward error correction, FEC. So just remember this. So FEC is the only mechanism to increase the transmission quality, but different mechanisms are using for the data transmission. So for data transmission, here in the GSM using in the barrier service, we are using many mechanisms for data transmission, but to increase the transmission quality, we just only use forward error correction, FEC. Okay, the selective reject mechanism to trigger retransmission of erroneous data. So this is one of the best service provided by the GSM. So the best service is not only depending on the one mechanism, depending on many mechanisms for data transmission, and depending on one mechanism for to improve the transmission quality. So and for transparent barrier service only using physical layer, and for non-transparent it uses rest of other layers. So what is meant by synchronous and asynchronous data transmission? Okay, synchronous means the data is transmitted from the transceiver at the fixed rate with constant phase differences and maintained between two devices. It means establish a constant clock rate between receiver and sender. That is not using handshaking technique. I think you guys are studying handshaking technique there in the network programming. So client sends a request to the server. If server accepts, automatically an acknowledgement is back to the client. So client server communication will be done by using these handshaking technique. So here not using handshaking technique. So synchronous means data is transmitted from transceiver at a fixed rate with constant phase differences and maintained between two devices. Next, asynchronous means data is transmitted by the transceiver at variable rate between two devices. It means first set the bandwidth and provide the clock rate between two devices. First we have to be set the bandwidth and then provide the clock rate. That is the asynchronous. So coming to the tele services. So which one is very most important one? So this is the second service provided by the GSM. So GSM mainly focus on voice oriented tele services. In the first, the GSM mainly focus on voice oriented tele services. These services encrypted with a terminal and sent to receiver from the PSTN or ISDN. For example, by using example is fax. So we are sending textual data from one location to the another location by using fax. So here the GSM mainly focus on voice oriented tele services. These are encrypted, such as voice transmission, messages, and basic data communications. The primary goal of GSM was the provision of high quality digital voice transmission. So, and the another service offered by GSM is the emergency numbers. So, which is very why this much of countries and this much of people are preferred GSM is. Let's look at this. This is one of the best service provided by the GSM. So it offers emergency numbers like 100 and 101 in our state and country, like example 911 So these services mandatory for all providers and free of charge. So if you got one GSM SIM, defaultly it consisting of some emergency numbers. So that is the best service provided by the GSM. That is one of the tele service. So a useful service for very simple message transfer is the short message service (SMS), which offers transmission of message of up to 160 characters. So short message transmission of message up to 160 characters is one of the best tele service provided by the GSM, and sending and receiving of SMS is possible during data or voice transmission. Not only the SMS, uh, it has to enhance the message service, offers a large message size, formatted text, and the transmission of animated pictures and small images and ringtones is a standardized way. So that's why we preferred GSM rather than the other telecommunication systems. So the multimedia message services available, MMS, pictures in the way of GIF format, JPG format, WMP format, and the short video clips. So and come with mobile phones that integrated small cameras. So GSM provides emergency numbers and SMSs, and as well as animated pictures, and available MMS offers transmission of larger pictures. So all these are the services provided by the tele services provided by the GSM system. And next, coming to the supplementary services. So GSM providers can offer supplementary services. So what is meant by supplementary services? I think you guys are using these supplementary services. Just look at this. So call forwarding, and user identification, call redirection, call forwarding, and bearing of incoming and outgoing calls, advice of charge, or standard ISDN features such as closed user groups and multi-party communication may be available. So these are some of the supplementary services provided by the GSM. So call forwarding options, and as well as ongoing forwarding of ongoing calls and redirections and grouped calls. So all these services are provided by the GSM. So these services are under the category of supplementary services. Okay, these are the three services: barrier services, tele services, and supplementary services. The barrier services, so synchronous and asynchronous, and as well as transparent and non-transparent. Coming to the tele services, some of the numbers are inbuilt. So and as well as SMS and multimedia options are there. And coming to the supplementary services, and call forwarding and redirection, group call options are there. So these are the some of the best services provided by the GSM. Next, moving to the GSM architecture. So is the very most important one in the unit number 1, GSM architecture. GSM architecture. So the GSM architecture consisting of three subsystems: radio subsystem, network switching subsystem, and operation subsystem. So the GSM architecture consisting of three subsystems: radio subsystem, network switching subsystem, and operation subsystem. Again, coming to the radio subsystem, they again categorized it into there are some base station subsystems, base station controller, base transceiver station, and mobile stations, and a network switching subsystem, second one. So again it consisting of mobile service switching center, home location register, and visitor location register. And coming to the operation subsystem, again consisting of operation and maintenance, and equipment identity register. So this is the architecture. So RSS, radio subsystem, NSS, network subsystem, and OSS, operation subsystem. So RSS consisting of BSS, mobile station MS, and base transceiver subsystem BTS, and base station controller BSC. So all these are belongs to the category of radio subsystem, and MSC and visual location register VLR and HLR are under the category of network subsystem, and equipment identity register AIR, authentication, and operation maintenance center are under the category of OSS. Okay, so the GSM architecture is subdivided into three subsystems: radio subsystem, network switching subsystem, operation subsystem. Again, radio subsystem is categorized into four, and network switching subsystem is consisting of three registers, and next operation subsystem consisting of three. So we will discuss it the next lecture. So about what is meant by MS, and what is meant by BTS, and what is meant by BSS. So how many MSS are connected to BTS? So how many BTSs are connected to the BSC? So how many BSCs are connecting to the MSC? So what is meant by VLR? What is meant by HLR? So what is the need for EIR, equipment identifier register, and what is the use of authentication center? So that what we have to be discussed in the next lecture. Okay, thank you very much.